patch represents us and our mission and what we believe. Dignity, honor, respect to our fallen, care, service, support to their families. That's what we're about. That patch is us and what we truly believe.
Caskets were a familiar scene on TV news during Vietnam, bringing into American living rooms the true cost of war. Media coverage of returning remains was banned after some networks showed a split-screen image of President George H.W. Bush bantering with reporters as the bodies of U.S. soldiers killed in Panama were arriving home.
The Pentagon has reversed its long-standing policy of not allowing news coverage of the coffins of returning U.S. troops killed in action.
I have decided that the decision regarding media coverage of the dignified transfer process at Dover should be made by those most directly affected, on an individual basis by the families of the fallen.
The remains of 2 U.S. service members who were killed in Afghanistan arrived at Dover Air Force Base today.
Air Force Mortuary Affairs Operations. We are a unique organization within the Air Force, within the Department of Defense. We operate and run the single port of entry into the continental United States for our fallen members. And we have the great honor of caring for them and providing them their final respects.
A solemn homecoming for a Maryland soldier killed in Afghanistan over the weekend. 25-year-old Sergeant Eric Hook from Perry Hall died along with 2 other soldiers. The bodies of all 3 men were returned to the U.S. overnight, arriving at Dover Air Force Base for the dignified transfer ceremony.
What is a dignified transfer? It is the movement of one of our fallen heroes from the plane that has brought them back from wherever it was that they died to our transfer vehicle, and then that transfer vehicle comes to the mortuary. It's a simple, dignified carry of our fallen hero.
For us, it's the final carry from the battlefield to preparation. They're going to be cared for, dressed for the funeral, and taken home. It's bringing them back to the U.S. soil that they were willing to die for.
Everybody at Dover works very hard to be sure that every dignified transfer is like every other one, that there is no preference for a higher or a lower ranking or one service over another, and we want that dignity, honor, and respect to be at the same level every time. We're very sensitive to everything that happens on the flight line.
If you were to watch it in the movement, the care, you can see the feeling on the members' faces when we carry that fallen. Every single one of them is special to us.
They practice hour after hour after hour for something that looks really very simple. If somebody is half out of step, the family's not going to see it, but we never want that mission to begin to degrade until we're just carrying a box, because that's not what it is. That's one of our heroes. That's an extended family member for everybody who works in the military.
That is my brother or my sister who chose to serve and to fight for what we believe and to defend our way of life. Part of by honoring them and caring for them is caring for their family. Part of caring for that family is honoring their service. Families serve. They all serve, whether they're in uniform or they're a spouse at home or kids in grade school. They move with the member, they support the member when they're deployed or TDY, and they serve by giving us their member for that time. And for, unfortunately, these families, they've given us their member with the greatest sacrifice, and we need to honor them as well.
There are 2 primary sides to the work of this chaplain. One of those is the families, extended families and friends who come to observe the the other group, of course, that we serve, and it's the group of young people who come to work at the mortuary, do the heavy lifting. I think it's hard for lots of folks, and particularly for young folks who have not gone through anything like this. I think the risk is keeping a healthy perspective, which is part of what we do every day with our resiliency program.
All right, so today we're going to talk about the 5 love languages and what that means. So everyone has a different communication style. My name is Sergeant Smith. I'm a mental health technician, and I am part of the resiliency team here. We work with the deployers as well as the permanent party people with classes, daily check-ins with them, just to get a pulse check and see how everyone is doing with their day-to-day lives, how it is being deployed away from their families, and things of that nature. Because I know when my husband came this weekend and I told him I worked, he was like, okay, really? And then when I left him in the bed at 11 o'clock over the weekend, he was just like, really? And then I come back and it's like 1 something in the morning. He's like, you was really out there, right? And I'm cold, my whole body cold because we was on the flight line. He was like, wow, okay, so now you truly understand that when I say I gotta go to work in the middle of the night, like I'm going to work.
The meaning of dignity, honor, respect isn't, we're only gonna do this at between 8 and 5 in the day. Our team is out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then they might be out there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then 2 o'clock that next afternoon if that's what's called for.
We know that they're there for us as well. So it's no longer we're U.S. Air Force just wearing the same uniform. You're a family member, and if I need you, I can call upon you.
A lot of people think resiliency means being strong all the time or being able to overcome anything. To me, that's not human. Resiliency to me means we're all going to have our bad moments, we're going to have our hard times. How do we get through that? And some of it hurts, some of it sucks. Resiliency is also appreciating those great times and making them more meaningful and enjoying the great moments that we do have. Sharing stories. We all have an amazing life. It's more amazing if you get to share it with other people and you learn about theirs.
I have to get on my 10-year-old. I make sure he does that because he's so into technology, and he's only 10. He's into technology, and I'm like, you need to look people in the face when you're talking to them.
There are great tools and resources out there, but really our best resilient resources are each other.
Is there anything else that y'all want to share, cover, and all that good stuff?
In the earliest days, we wanted to get them through a deployment no worse off than they came. We kind of changed that a few years ago. We think that we are actually succeeding at helping them to be better for having been to the mortuary and done this work than they were when they came.
Oh, yeah.
The airmen that I've dealt with over the years almost always leave here to say, I'm going to go home and hug my kids more. I'm going to love my wife better. I'm going to be a better mom, just because they've seen families here who have lost someone who is close to them.
We're at the Center for the Families of the Fallen. This facility is where we bring the families about an hour prior to the dignified transfer, because it starts to resonate and it hits them. I'm a family of a fallen now, to try to help them with that next step. We walk them through what's going to happen out on the flight line.
It is our job to help them through, to accompany them through the most difficult day of their life. It's only 24 hours, maybe a little longer than that they have received a knock on the door. They come here nearly immediately, and they are, for most, they are still in shock.
Everybody grieves in a different way, but a lot of families want to talk about their loved one, and you learn so much about them. You begin to feel like you know them, and kind of like you just go back in time with that family for that brief moment. And unfortunately, there comes that time through the conversation while you're over here that the aircraft is ready and it's time to go out on the flight line.
And the worst is yet to come. During the dignified transfer, the family sees for the first time the concrete truth my son, my daughter, my father, my husband is gone.
For most families, I believe, is the worst moment. You know, a lot of people believe it's the worst moment is at the knock at the door. For a lot of families, that's more shock. For most of our families, when we tell them it's time to go out, and they see that flag drape transfer case for the first time, that's the worst moment. It's no longer a bad dream. It's no longer a mistake. It's reality. And so time just caught up. And you wish it could stop, but it can't.
The body of a 31-year-old Chicopee native killed in Afghanistan is back in the U.S. tonight.
It was a rainy day at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware as the bodies of Master Sergeants Jose Gonzalez and Luis de Leon Figueroa were returned to U.S. soil.
I came to this job since 9/11. I can't believe that I am 18 years into this. It makes me feel like I'm not a very good religious person, because for all those years I have prayed almost every day that this thing would come to an end, that we wouldn't have any more fallen heroes or any need for a mortuary. My prayers had not been answered. I look forward to a day when it's over, whatever that means.
This nation was built on people willing to fight and die for it. They're volunteering to do this. They have other choices. We are a nation of opportunity. They choose. They choose to serve. And no matter what you see on the news, no matter what you see on the media or read or hear on any podcast, it is a grateful nation.